There comes a moment in many men's lives that nobody prepares them for. Usually sometime after 40, you've achieved what you were told to chase. The income, the career, the lifestyle, the status. On paper, you won. But internally, something feels strangely unfinished. Because deep down you begin to realize a difficult truth. Making more money and making a bigger impact are not always the same thing. And for many men, the second half of life becomes less about accumulation and more about meaning. Sun Tzu once wrote, "He who knows when he can fight and when he cannot will be victorious." And many men eventually discover they spent decades fighting battles that no longer matter to them. More titles, more competition, more external validation. Meanwhile, their peace disappeared. Their health declined. Their families barely saw them emotionally present. That's why this transition matters. Moving from being a high earner to becoming a high-impact man. Not just successful externally, but valuable internally. To your family, to your community, to the people who depend on your strength. Here are 4 bold steps that make that transition possible. The first step, stop treating your career like your identity. This is one of the hardest psychological shifts for men, because society rewards men for production. What do you do? How much do you make? What title do you hold? Over time, many men unconsciously fuse their self-worth with their profession, and that becomes dangerous, because eventually every career changes. Companies move on, industries evolve, retirement arrives. You become replaceable. And if your identity exists only inside your profession, you collapse with it. Let me ask you something. If your title disappeared tomorrow, who would still remain underneath it? That question makes many men uncomfortable, but it's the beginning of wisdom. High-impact men understand something most people miss. Your career is what you do. It is not who you are. Who you are is revealed in your discipline, your calm, your integrity, your presence, and how people feel after spending time with you. That is impact. The second step, shift from proving to building. Young men often chase visibility. Older men begin chasing substance. And there is a massive difference between the two. One wants applause, the other wants meaning. One wants recognition, the other wants contribution. You start seeing this clearly after enough life experience. Some men spend decades trying to impress strangers, while neglecting the people sitting at their own dinner table. But high-impact men begin asking different questions. Not, how do I look successful? But, who becomes stronger because I exist? That changes everything. Your family notices it. Your children feel it. Your friendships deepen. Your leadership becomes calmer and more grounded. Because true masculine leadership is not domination. It's stabilization. It's becoming the man others feel safe around during difficult seasons of life. And in modern society, that kind of presence is becoming incredibly rare. The third step is voluntary reduction. This sounds backwards in a culture obsessed with expansion. But Sun Tzu understood something modern culture ignores. What owns you, controls you. And many high earners are secretly trapped by the very lifestyle they built. Too many obligations, too many expenses, too much noise, too much pressure to maintain an image. So they cannot slow down, cannot pivot, cannot breathe. They're financially successful, but strategically trapped. High-impact men begin simplifying intentionally, not because they lack ambition, but because freedom matters more than appearances. They reduce unnecessary consumption, protect their peace aggressively, stop chasing status symbols they no longer care about, and something surprising happens. The less they need to impress people, the more powerful they become internally. Because a man who needs little becomes difficult to manipulate. And that kind of freedom creates clarity. The fourth and final step, start thinking in decades instead of quarters. High earners often optimize for short-term gains. More money this year, Bigger deal this quarter. Faster growth immediately. But high-impact men think differently. They think like builders of legacy. They ask, who am I becoming over the next 10 years? Will my children respect the way I lived? Will my wife feel emotionally safe beside me? Will my presence leave people stronger or weaker? Will I arrive at old age with wisdom or just exhaustion? This is where many men finally understand the deeper meaning of success. Because eventually, every man runs into a reality money cannot solve. A fractured family, an empty inner life, a lack of purpose, a restless mind. And that's why the second half of life requires a different philosophy. Not endless hustle, but intentional living. Not louder ambition, but clearer direction. At Prime Over 40, this is what we believe real masculinity looks like. Not domination, not ego, not performative alpha behavior, but discipline, calm, purpose, strategic living, and inner strength that does not depend on external applause. Because the ultimate flex after 40 is not becoming richer than everyone else. It's becoming a man fully at peace with who he is. So if you're ready to stop chasing empty success and start building a life that actually matters, subscribe to Prime Over 40, because the second half of life should not be your decline. It should be your deepest evolution.